It's supposed to feel.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to NS9 Live. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we got Jim. We got Tyler. It's the three of us. What's up, fellas?
What's going on? Good evening.
Good evening. What's up?
Not much. I was putting the game on.
I haven't watched a bit of it. I heard the Griffeys played catch. That's about all I knew of. Heard of.
Like, it's the Reds and the Cubs. It's not really a great game, but there's just something about the whole Field of Dreams thing. Major League Baseball knocks it out of the park. It's very well done.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that people in Ottawa get to watch baseball for the first time in a century. Right. So, good for them. Good for them.
Yeah, exactly.
No input, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm going to put as much effort into this show as the Pirates did constructing their roster.
All right, well, we could just go ahead and do that. Plus, Tyler, you got to be in the middle, man. You're our
no
bread and butter.
Hey, there you go.
But anyways, so the Pirates, they're on the West Coast. A lot of night games, playing Arizona Diamondbacks. Not too many good games. Now, they did win last night, but
last night was a great game. Like, it was a very entertaining game. I was really excited to do a post-game show last night.
Don't even start. Don't even do this.
Then my co-host just randomly passes out and just doesn't respond to text.
You guys have fun with this bad boy, because I've already heard half of it.
You know what? First of all, now I will admit, I mean, I'm always up late. That's why, like, you and I covering the late shows, opposed to Tyler and entertaining the possibility of doing it.
Yep,
it's fine.
Not doing it.
We're up that late anyways. But first off, before the game even started, I feel like you're like, hey, can you do this game by yourself tonight? So I don't want to hear it. First off, you asked me to do it by myself. And then when I am not capable of doing it, you just nix it all together. You can't do it by yourself. You need me.
I wasn't going to do a show by myself at 1 a.m. Because the last time I did a late show by myself, I carried it for 30 minutes, somehow talked about it for 30 minutes, and someone doesn't even upload it to the podcast the next day.
Ooh. I got to do everything around here.
Rebuttal.
Me too, Justin.
Me too. I watched 0 pitches. I was snoozing.
Yeah. Well, so is
in all reality, yesterday's game was a really fun game all around. Mitch Keller pitched well. Bullpen looked good. It got a little interesting there at the end because they wanted to stretch Will Crowe out a second inning, and that wasn't really going real well. But yeah, it was a fun, well played game yesterday.
Yeah, you bring up Mitch Keller pitched well. Is that how you take it?
Yeah,
he was pitching
outside.
Well. It wasn't great though.
The fourth inning, he ran into some issues, and it wasn't that like he was getting hit hard. It was just singles through the infield. Like, it wasn't too bad, and he did what you want to see him do, which in the past, if things weren't going his way, kind of falls apart. Didn't happen this time around. So no, I mean he did good. 5 1/3 innings, 3 runs. I'll take that. Whenever he gets dinked and dunked around.
Right. I'll definitely say that about him. I mean, I'm loving the mentality of Mitch Keller, if anything. Well, I guess that does come secondary. The performance actually really matters. But I think that's the biggest thing that stands out is when he does get into trouble, like when he isn't pitching as effective, he doesn't implode. I mean, he's in every game. Like, he just looks like a completely different pitcher. I love it. Did he punch something going? Like he was fired up yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he got pulled in the 6th inning. He didn't finish the 6th, and he came out and he was not happy. Like he wanted to get through that inning. He punched his little cooler that he has sitting there on the dugout bench.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Think about a year ago, he's probably praying, get me out of this game, get me out of this game. And like now he's pissed off. Don't get me out of this game. Like I want this. That's what I'm loving so much about Mitch Keller this year. Yes, the result is what ultimately matters, but that in and itself is what I love about Mitch Keller right now. He just seems totally different. I don't know who to attribute that to, but he just mentally seems totally different.
Probably Clay
I think
Holmes.
it's a lot to do with Oscar Marin, pitching coach. He's done a great job developing some of these guys. There have been multiple guys take steps forward this year under Oscar Marin's tutelage.
Jim, can we get to that?
Yes, let's do it.
I know you're half serious, I think. You're not fully serious that Oscar Marin is a good pitching coach. I'm not naive. However, why are we celebrating Oscar Marin turning a couple guys that have really good stuff into capable major league pitchers? Because that's all he's done. JT Brubaker turned into a capable major league pitcher.
Yeah.
He's not good. He's capable now.
You know who
Mitch Keller is Oscar Marin?
The previous guys couldn't do it.
Well, JT Brubaker, he was Oscar Marin.
Right. I'm talking about the previous coach couldn't
this one
take
out.
these guys.
That's like me telling Fred, congrats, bud. You cleaned up your own piss in the kitchen. Good for you. Like
I'm
Mitch
just
Keller.
saying that you've got multiple pitchers this year.
Who?
Where all of them have made JT Brubaker, Mitch Keller, Will Crow. And you can even look at people like Tyler Beatty. Okay? Like people who have
Tyler Beatty.
Hold on.
Tyler Beatty's father has you blocked because you think he sucks so bad.
I never said Tyler Beatty sucks. Never said that.
His own father blocked you because
I said he wasn't Clay Holmes. I said he wasn't Clay Holmes. I
Guess
never
who got better when he left? Clay Holmes.
I actually said your son's pitching really well, but he's not Clay Holmes. That's what I said. That's what got me blocked. Okay. But no, you're seeing now multiple people who have made changes. Bryce Wilson. Let's even talk about Bryce freaking Wilson. All these guys have made changes middle of the year, right around May is where we're seeing these changes happen. And all of them have made strides because of the changes that they've implemented under the pitching coach, Oscar Marin. So I don't care what you think about Oscar Marin. And yeah, I'm being a little half serious here. I don't think Oscar Marin's a good pitching coach, right? But I think he deserves a little bit of credit for kind of pushing Mitch Keller into being that pitcher that we thought he could be. He gets a little bit of credit. He gets a little bit of credit for JT Brubaker. He gets a little bit of credit for Will Crow. He gets a little bit of credit for Bryce Wilson. He gets a little bit of credit for Tyler Beatty. He gets a little bit of credit for these guys.
The only one I will give him credit for is Will Crow. Because there is a tangible difference with him.
There's tangible differences on all of them.
No.
All of them have differences.
Oh, dear Lord. Mitch Keller added a two-seamer because the entire organization couldn't figure out what to do with him, and he just decided, I'm going to throw a two-seamer. And then someone was like, yeah, that might not be a bad idea.
Key point.
But then they also changed his slider.
In a bullpen
also
session.
Changed his,
key point.
Also changed his slider.
2 years after everyone else started doing it.
But I'm just telling, like these are things that have changed, and he was the pitching coach while they changed. He deserves just some sort of credit. I'm not saying like extend Oscar Marin, but like you can't shit on the guy anymore because we're seeing you're seeing a lot of development and improvements from the pitching staff.
The problem is that we're not seeing enough improvement. We're seeing them become guys that can pitch a major league baseball game. None of these guys
they weren't those
before. Congrats, we're the tallest midget now.
All right, so they got better. All I'm saying is they've gotten better.
Woo! I'm not the shortest.
Let me be the
midget
voice of
anymore,
reason
guys.
here. I'm gonna be Bucko Mike, the voice of reason. All right. So, like, it's funny is I'm kind of in between the both of you right now in this because I've been touting all along, like, get Marin out of here. Just get Marin out of here. And I understand there's been some changes in these pitchers. And that's just where I'm at. I don't know if I can truly credit Oscar Marin just because of stuff we've been hearing, like from Mitch Keller. Like when I hear, oh, go talk to Clay Holmes and see what he's doing, that tells me you don't know what you're doing. You have to, again, be the triage. You have to tell people where to go find the answers because you ain't got all the answers, Sway. So, like, to me, that doesn't make a great or a good pitching coach. That just makes someone who has connections. So
He
so
didn't
great.
even have the damn connections.
And that's just where I'm at. But at the same sense, I guess what Tyler's saying is like, so we made him capable of pitchers outside of Mitch Keller. I don't know if this organization really had capable pitchers. Like, think about JT Brubaker. I ultimately, from the get-go, thought he is going to make a good reliever. But he's forced into a rotation. We'll find out what he is. So, like, I don't think he came up with the pedigree of I'm a capable, rotation guy, or it could be more. Mitch Keller really is the only one that had that pedigree. So that's where I'll like I said, kind of go in the middle there. Like, I'm not going to base it that he's made people capable because I don't think some of these people had capabilities of being capable. But also, Bryce Wilson is not good. I don't care.
No.
He has not been good since the return. Now, he's not walking a lot of people. He's walking less than he normally has, but like, I'm not buying into Bryce Wilson yet either. So I'm not using him to support any Oscar Marin.
Another person that I forgot to mention, Jose Quintana. Marin gets some credit for that too.
Sure. Whatever. Like, we're talking about JT Brubaker like he doesn't have a 4.50 ERA. Like, he's capable. He's not really good. We're just happy. We're Pirates fans. We're happy to get any single
JT
person.
Brubaker is a major league starting pitcher.
Yeah, he's not good though.
And to the point, like, that shouldn't be the bar.
I
Like,
never
we shouldn't be
said it was
measuring
the
people
bar.
if they're successful
Never
at their
said it was
job
the bar.
because they created a
Never said
pitcher
it was the bar.
who is a major league starter.
Yeah, you know what you need on Major League Baseball teams, Major League starters. JT Brubaker is one of them. Like, there's a lot of problems with this.
How
team,
do you
and
win?
JT Brubaker is not one.
How
of those
do you win? It's not with,
Yeah.
I've created major league starters.
Yeah, that's how you win. You also need offenses to back them up, which we don't have. But the pitching right now is not the problem.
I'm not saying this is the end all be all. Like, Marin is it. There's plenty of
what I'm saying is
issues on this team.
The Pirates' current pitching staff is not a problem. Like, is not the problem of this team. It's the offense.
No, Jim, I think we can just point at the entire roster as a problem. Like, entire roster is a problem. Gaps.
But like, if we're like saying, okay, what is an issue right now with this team? The pitching staff is like the last thing on the list.
Yeah, but if they had like
that's not good.
If they had an average offense,
it actually is pretty good, right? Like, this pitching staff isn't awful right now.
You said it right now. They survived a few weeks of looking confident. They're bad.
No, like
define right now.
Like the present makeup of the pitching staff.
No, it's bad. No, it's awful. All right, Jim, let's walk in and let's just pretend the Pirates have an average offense next year and this pitching staff stays intact.
Yeah.
And they are what they are.
Then it's a 500 team.
You're full of shit.
I mean, this team, so if we're going by Fangraphs, right? Pitching, team stats, all. They are 21st in the league in pitching overall. Okay.
It's not good.
And that's 21st in the league. Okay. But with a league average offense, yeah, they're basically average at that point. Because right now they don't. Right now they're 28th in offense.
What did you look at
Since the All-Star
Two-
break, 21st
Mhm.
ERA. Like,
Yeah, where are they at FIP wise?
actually doing better FIP
Really?
wise.
FIP's better
for
than
them.
ERA.
They're
Good for
outperforming
them.
it. But I mean, where they rank, they're 17th.
Good for them. They suck. They have a bunch of guys that suck at throwing baseballs.
They're average. No, like they're fine. They're
No,
just
they're
fine.
not. They suck.
The pitching staff currently is just fine.
Sucks.
Just fine.
Sucks.
Sucks might be harsh,
They suck.
but what I'm getting at
No,
is
they don't
the
suck.
thing is, Jim, how
They
like
suck.
your issue with this is the pitching is the least of the problems. And sure, it's the least of the problems, but it doesn't resolve it from being a problem. Like it's not as just like listen, to go in current events.
That's what least of the
Like,
problems
let's just not
means.
say,
It's
well,
the
at least
least
we're
of
not
all the
as
problems.
shitty as that at that party, right? Like that's where we're getting at. Well, at least we're not the hitters. That doesn't mean that you're absolved from being poor. And so again, like with the pitching in itself, I understand there isn't a lot of talent. There's not a lot of talent on the roster to begin with, right? So we get that. But just going into Oscar Marin, I just need real definitive answers to make a valid point. But I just still am not a believer in him. And I think there needs to be some major overhaul in the pitching as well. Like it shouldn't just be like, well, the offense is the problem. And you just look at the offense this offseason and ignore the pitching so that next year the offense is better and then the pitching's behind and you say, well, now I got to do the pitching. Like let's just do this all at once.
No
All the
one ever
coaches
said
need to
that.
go.
No one ever
But,
said that.
okay. And I'm not saying you did, but I'm just saying like, just because it's not doesn't mean we can't talk about it. And right now we're currently talking about it. We'll definitely get to other stuff. But like to me, all coaches just need to go.
Yeah.
Haynes, Marine, like everything.
To be fair, at this point, this is like reminiscent of Donardo doesn't understand, but like Todd Haley's first couple years, where the defense turned into the issue, the offense got better. And all of a sudden it turned from fire Haley to fire to LeBeau and everything else. It's kind of where we're at right now. They all just kind of need to go.
The players also suck.
Yeah, they
They
do.
do.
And the guy that assembled the players sucks.
Unless the guy who assembled the players is sucking on purpose, which is what it seems like is happening.
You know, the guy that sets the lineups, though. At this point, I kind of wonder if Derek Shelton just goes home, grabs himself a glass of Eagle Rare, sits in his den, because I just imagine he has a den in his house with a bunch of like old books. And he just sits there and
Sweet
thinks,
mahogany.
you know what? It'd really piss that asshole off if I hit Josh Van Meter first tomorrow. That's what I like to imagine Derek Shelton does because he got that big gray beard. And he just looks like a kind of guy that's like running the Hunger Games. That's what I want out of Derek Shelton. That's all I want. I just want the guy to be the one that's like, you know what? Piss on Ben Sherrington. I'm going to hit his top prospect 9th tomorrow until he gives me a team worth a damn. What's he going to do?
know.
Fire me?
I question if that would piss him off.
That's what I would do.
Yeah,
I'd
I
go
think
put my-
Sherrington's fine with losing right now.
Well, yeah, but if I was Derek Shelton, I'd probably put my feet up and be like, I'm going to piss him off again tomorrow.
I don't know. Again, I mean, we're talking about Marine, and I'm just still very, very indifferent, but swaying largely to the side that I'm not convinced that he is a capable major league pitching coach and should be retained.
And
The
I
only thing-
disagree with you.
Well, the only thing capable about Oscar Marin is when he walks out there and his big old belly's just like hanging out of his jacket. I'm like, that's the guy that looks like a pitching coach. Drank a few too many beers after a guy hung a 2-seamer. That's all he's done for me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're almost 20 minutes in. Do we want to move on to another topic? Something different?
I mean, anything
It's
else
like
happen?
Festivus every day for us.
Yeah.
What about we haven't gotten to talk about because
What?
we haven't been on in a couple days.
Yes.
Rodolfo Castro, cell
Let's do
phone
it.
in his pocket.
Yes.
So I mean, here's the deal. Is it against the rules? Yeah. If he were like actually like doing something egregious with his cell phone, sure, that's a problem. But like the dude clearly just forgot the cell phone was in his pocket. Embarrassing. Took it out. Was like, oh shit. Just move on. You know, he's probably going to get some sort of the discipline. Maybe the team gets discipline. I don't know what's going to happen from like a Major League Baseball standpoint, because I said it is against the rules. But like everybody who's like calling, saying, and this is, you know, no accountability on the Pirates because they started him the next day. This guy needs to be DFA'd. This guy needs to be sent down. Shut up. Like the dude made a mistake, forgot the cell phone was in his pocket. It's the embarrassment is punishment enough for him. Let it go. Just move on. It was kind of funny.
I'd be
It
okay
was
with him being
absolutely
sent
funny.
down just because he stinks.
He actually had a really good game yesterday.
It's probably because the cell phone was in his pocket. No, but it is like it's a non-story. Like it's more. The big thing with Rodolfo Castro at this point is that it's just another thing that he does that's stupid. Like as soon as I woke up, I read a text message from Jim that said you missed the dumbest Pirates play of all time. And
Oh,
guess
that
who was
wasn't
in
even
the
that.
center of it? Well,
Oh, yeah. Okay, that was a different play. Yeah, okay.
yeah, but guess who was in the center of that one? Rodolfo Castro.
He was.
He does a lot of dumb things. He's not really a good baseball player. I'm okay not watching much more of that.
Here's the thing with Castro, though. Like, he's got all the tools. Like, if he can put it all together, he can be an incredibly useful piece of this team's future. I don't know if he's like an everyday player. He's still really young. I mean, he's 23. You know, he made the majors last year at 22, and it's like he's a young 23, I think.
Yeah. I'm sorry, May 21st. So
yeah, so like he
23
just turned 23 this year. Like there's talent there. The guy clearly has power. His first 5 hits in the majors were home runs. I mean, the guy can hit. I don't think he's a shortstop, right? So like playing him at shortstop was stupid. But I want to see more Rodolfo Castro down the stretch.
I'm good.
I'm fine with seeing Rodolfo Castro. I mean, again, where are we at? We have Josh Van Meter on the team. Right. Like we keep going on this pass. Like I'm fine with seeing
started
Castro.
today. Yeah.
There's intrigue with Castro. Do I believe that he will become a useful player? I have my doubts, but I'm intrigued. Let him give him the opportunity to prove me wrong, right? In that sense.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the cell phone thing, yeah, it was incredibly dumb. You know, it was stupid. It was a complete mental lapse. And I guess understand how it transpired, like why it happened, right? He usually has the mitten. It was obviously in his back pocket like the entire time. Didn't feel different because he always has his mitt in his pocket, right? So there's nothing really different about it until he slid into third and it came flying out of his back pocket. And he didn't even realize it either. Like he was standing on the base and it was the ump on third was like pointed. He looked down. It's like, oh shit, it's my cell phone. It's very illegal. Hands it off to the third base coach, right? So it's a complete mental lapse. Was it dumb? Yes. But I don't think there was clearly any ill intent. And as you're talking about people like talking about how he's disciplined, there's people talking about DFAing him and such. Like this is such an overreaction. There was no ill intent. I mean, if he was a Houston Astro and you saw him like using his cell phone, you know, and such, like, okay, there's something going on. But he had his back pocket the whole time. Are you really going to play baseball with your cell phone in your pocket? Are you sliding to third base with a cell phone in your pocket? Like that's the thing I think of too. Like try to use some mental capabilities here to think about this. Do you think he really was going to run around the field with a cell phone in his pocket? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So to me, it's a non-story in that regard. Like, we're overreacting all this. Now, I will say him starting the next game didn't sit well with me. Like, that should have been the statement. Like, listen, you can't do this stuff because, Jim, just like you said, we don't know how MLB is coming down. I mean, it could be coming on him. It could be for the team and such. Like, if you're costing us a fine,
I hope.
You can't. I can't.
Make Bob Nutting pay a fine.
Yeah, I hope Bob Nutting has to pay a fine. That's what I want.
Well, that's why he had to acquire a whiskey and cidery and stuff today. You know,
he's
make
got
some extra income.
He's got to sell some booze to pay the fine from
Right.
Castro.
But to me, like, that's the message you sent. Like, listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, you're an idiot, Rodolfo. That was dumb. But like, I understand we can move forward, but I'm not starting you today. You're sitting the bench. I can't reward you for that mental lapse. That's just where I'm at. Now we move forward. It's settled. We're done.
I'm just getting really tired of all these stupid things that happen to this team. Like last year, we had to deal with like 2 months of Will Craig chasing Javi Baez down. Now we're going to have to watch like 2 more months of Rodolfo Castro's phone popping out of his pocket. I'm tired of it. Can we just watch competent people that want to go play baseball and not suck?
Well, you got to acquire those players.
I guess. But just to take it back to Castro, as a baseball player, I really do think like his absolute tippy top ceiling, like 5% he reaches it at the most, is Odor. Because I think that's about as far as he's going to get. And Odor's not a great player. He's capable, I guess. And I don't think he gets
He's on
there.
a winning team now.
I guess. Sure. He's
He's
good.
been on winning teams.
Mhm.
He's not good. That's probably the ceiling for Castro, and it's a far stretch for him to get there. I guess with Bay being out, and Jim and I are on the same page about Bay, but there's really not much more option with the middle infield. So I guess if I think about it more, I'll deal with them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about like what are the other options, give me Castro right now.
Yeah, those other options really thinned out pretty quick.
Right. But I will say this. I mean, Tyler makes the point, and we can certainly talk about this. He hasn't seen a lot of MLB action. So, I mean, what? It was 31 games last year, 23 this year. To be real, he has made a lot of mental errors. He's made a lot of dumb things happen. Now, on the field, and this is where I say things are different too, like the Will Craig situation. Like on the field, just thinking dumb is one thing. Breaking rules is another thing. And it's not like the Pirates break rules right and left. So that's why I feel like this is also like, it's not a problem in that sense. But when you sum it all together, Castro has made some really absent-minded things happen. I mean, this week just is like a great example. Like every game almost.
Yeah, and I mean, part of
And
that's probably.
And sorry, let's cut you off. And let's think about the game before he got sent down. So really, like just 3 straight games in a row.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, part of it's probably he's young. Part of it is maybe he does kind of bounce around and play a lot of positions. So when you do that, you don't get as many reps doing those positions. And like yesterday's double play, for example, like a normal second baseman is just throwing that ball to first. Like that ball's going to first base. And he didn't do that. But then like you look at it, and you're like, well, the dude played 15 games at second base this year in AAA. So like it's not like he is a second baseman. Like it's a position he can play, but maybe it is something where and this could be a development / coaching issue where they have all these guys playing all these positions that, yeah, they're flexible and they can be utilized in different ways, but they're not fundamentally sound maybe at any of those positions. So, maybe you kind of look at this like this isn't maybe this isn't a Castro thing. Maybe this is a Pirates are moving him around all the time. And because of that, he doesn't really know how to play one position really well. He can play a bunch of positions. Okay. I don't know. I'm not making excuses for the guy, but second base isn't a position he plays every day. Now, I think most people should know you just throw the ball to first there, but I don't know. Just spitballing stuff here.
Jim, I actually don't think you're wrong about any of that, because I think you can look back, even back when the Pirates were a good team for 3 years. This team's never really been a fundamentally sound baseball team. And something at some points just not there. Through even the Clint Hurdle days, it wasn't there. And I think it gets brought up more whenever we watch the Cardinals, who just seem to have everybody just on the same page at all times. And it could have something to do with the Pirates just having this same exact minor league system that they had when Neil Huntington was here. For the last 15 years, they have not changed anything. Maybe that's something you look at, but this team's never in my memory been a fundamentally sound team that just plays baseball well. When they win, it's based upon talent, essentially, and a little bit of dumb luck.
Yeah. But I think, to your point and to what I was saying before, you look at a team like the Cardinals, right? And you look at a team like the Pirates. Like, who are the Pirates' most fundamentally sound players? Ke'Bryan Hayes, right? Guess what Ke'Bryan Hayes does? He plays third base. He only plays third base. He's only played third base his entire time since being drafted in 2015, right? Whereas the rest of this roster bounces around to so many different positions all the time that maybe they haven't gotten the chance to get really good at a position, I mean, look, like I said, bringing up the Cardinals real quick. Nolan Gorman. Guess how many positions Nolan Gorman has played this year for the Cardinals?
Tell us, because I'm not answering.
Second base. He's played second base. One. That's his only position he's ever played all year long. Dylan Carlson splits time between right field and center field. Nolan Arenado, obviously third base. Paul Goldschmidt, obviously third base, first base. And you're going to have these things happen, I guess, when you have capable major league hitters and players. But Paul DeYoung has played one position this year for the Cardinals, shortstop. So, these are guys where they're not bouncing around. Tyler O'Neill has played one position this year for the Cardinals, left field. That's it. So maybe that has something to do with it. There's not getting everyday reps.
So the other part of that is none of those guys really, maybe Gorman. I don't think Gorman was really a top prospect, but none of those guys are,
O'Neill was, Gorman was.
Oh, where were we talking in the prospect rankings?
I mean, Gorman was a top 15.
I thought Gorman was, but
yeah.
O'Neill was around 50, I feel like, with the Mariners.
Yeah. Yeah, he was up there.
You just go through the history, and maybe it's just recency bias for me, but they just seem to come up and be major league ready and not have Pirate-like issues.
That's very fair.
Yep. I mean, Gorman, I think, was the guy who everybody freaked out about because he ran through second base. That was Nolan Gorman, a rookie.
Yeah.
Yes,
who
that's
had
right.
been in the majors for less than a month. Have the Pirates ever done a play where all of Major League Baseball was not a non-O'Neill Cruz freak athletic thing that he did?
Mm-hmm.
Have the Pirates ever done anything where
Heads
Major
up.
League Baseball, where it was like, oh my God, the Pirates are geniuses for this?
I don't think the Pirates have ever been called geniuses since like 2015.
Well, and that's my line up. I was gonna say, I'm trying to think of that Jay Hay rundown. Was that genius or just like an
No, that was
I think
stupid.
that was just him being athletic. I mean, because he made a mistake getting in
That's
the
like the
rundown,
only thing I can
Yeah.
think of is
like-
Jay Hay running the base pass.
Also, he was out like 4 times.
That's true. He was like 8 feet out of the base path.
But I mean, even think of other than Hayes and maybe Marte, I can't think of another Pirates prospect that's come up and been a good defensive player.
Kutch.
Yeah.
Yes, but
Yeah. I mean, when Kutch first came up, he was very
I get-
athletic, pretty decent at center. Yeah.
but it wasn't like a good, fundamentally sound outfielder. He was just very athletic.
Okay.
I mean, you can't fault him for being athletic, though.
No,
He
I
made him a
can't.
good
I'm just-
prospect,
But we're not looking at like a, I don't know, just even Brian Hayes, for example, that's just very smooth with everything he does. There's nobody like that.
No.
That comes up through this organization. Like
Maybe
Jordy Mercer, maybe
but, like, even
survived.
Mercer got better at shortstop the
Yeah.
longer he played. He wasn't that great right off the
But
bat.
we're at the
And that
point
didn't
where we're
last
talking
too
about
long.
Jordy Mercer.
Right. That's where we're at.
That's where we're at in that list.
Yeah.
okay.
Something is going on poorly in that minor league system, and it hasn't been fixed. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
I mean, you did bring
Got
up
me
the
thinking.
point today. You did bring up the point today in our group chat when I was bragging about my Stratomatic Royals team about how they've got all these rookies coming up and they're performing right. And it's like, why can't the Pirates have like one rookie do that? And we talk about Hayes. Hayes was that guy, right? Hayes made his debut and then he was like otherworldly right off the bat. Probably was too good because then our expectations got super high for Brian Hayes. And you could say like Cruz is having his struggles, but if you look at Cruz's overall numbers, he's fine. It's not like if you were looking at his Fangraphs page and you were like, this guy looks like he's in his first month of his career and he's a very talented guy. He's got 9 home runs in 45 games or something like that, right? But there's no one who it does seem like there's not as many people who get called up and then just immediately look like they belong.
I think Brian Reynolds is the last one I could think of.
Reynolds is a good example.
And he really wasn't he wasn't like
Newman.
a top prospect. No, Newman sucked his first
Newman
year.
was terrible in 2018. Like that he got called. It was a September call up.
Well, I guess, yeah, you're
all
right.
of
I'm thinking the
September.
next year.
Yeah, and his next year was very good, but that first taste he had was real bad.
I mean, even to take that further, I don't remember the last Pirates prospect really that just tore up the minor leagues. That just forced your hand.
We talked about that.
And we talked about that with Tim Williams.
Andrew McCutchen. Well, I mean, that was a long time ago. We're talking about
That was a long
2009
time
at that
ago.
point. Yeah, but like Andrew McCutchen tore through the minors. He reached AAA in 2 years. At age 20. But no, I mean that's a good point too. You have a lot of these guys where, yeah, like where are the Pirates like Jackson Churios? Like where are the Pirates Jackson Churios at? Where are the Pirates? Even like Nolan Gorman. Nolan Gorman tore up the minors for St. Louis. While we're just on that topic, you look at Arizona, who are playing right now, Alec Thomas, Corbin Carroll, guys like that, where you look at their minor league numbers and you're like, holy shit, these guys are going to be really good. Yeah, I mean,
even though Neil Cruz, he didn't really tear up the minors.
his batted ball data was very otherworldly, and that's what kind of it's just his freak athleticism is what made him so intriguing as a prospect. Yeah,
right. And right, I mean, you're right. It's not as if like O'Neal Cruz was bad, right?
Mm-mm.
It's just like no one has like you're saying, like just dumb. Like even O'Neal Cruz, you had your question marks with him and such. There's no one. It's been a long time. I should say no one, but it's definitely been a long time where you're like, this guy's a stud. Can't miss. He's dominating. Comes up and does it. Now, and that's the thing that I want to get to. Like, it's a little bit unfair because a lot of rookies, of course, do struggle. I mean, that's why we can compare O'Neal Cruz to Julio Rodriguez. Like, even Julio Rodriguez didn't come up and just dominate. but it doesn't mean everyone has to come up and struggle. And I think that's kind of alluding to here. That's pretty much like the Pirate way. Right. I mean, everyone, when's the last time a rookie, like you said, Brian Reynolds? I mean, you could say technically Gregory Polanco did for like a few weeks, and like, he was the opposite. Like, he was super hot and then was very, very bad. But it kind of has been, I guess. Like, I haven't really seen a rookie come up and just play very, very, very well. Now, mind you, too, like, think about this year and, of course, like last. I mean, you said about like Brian Hayes, and that's true. But also the same sense, it's not as if the Pirates have had a lot of top prospects coming up to make that debut. Like when Jack Sawinski makes his debut and he plays okay, he plays pretty good. Like, we're questioning he's on the 40-man roster or not, you know? So like part of this too is it's not as if the Pirates are having, even though they have a ton of rookies playing this year, right? It's not as if they're having a lot of quality rookies.
No, you're right.
So unfortunately, the last one I can think of actually probably is Austin Meadows. Even though he had those injury concerns, he's the guy that actually hit pretty much at all levels. But it does seem like a good bit.
Meadows hit. He just didn't play very much because he was hurt.
Right,
all the time.
he was hurt.
But when he played, he was good.
He's kind of the. Honestly, he's similar to Henry Davis right now. Yeah. Just when he's there, he's hitting. But it does seem like for the last forever.
See, that's what I'm kind of. I just want.
It's been, if this clicks, this guy's going to be great, and it feels like it's been like that for every prospect. This has to click.
See, I kind of disagree. So, like, I'm going back to Meadows in 2016 in AAA, albeit his first taste, 145 plate appearances, 113 weighted run created plus. In 17, 312 plate appearances, 85 weighted run created plus. In 18,
no, so once he hit AAA, he started struggling. But Double A, he tore up. Single A.
So basically, just speaking up to AAA.
Yeah, and he reached he reached AAA at 21 too. So like he moved through the system pretty quick.
I just remember again him having struggles. So
yeah, I mean you look at he reached AAA, and how many games did he play before that? I mean he played less than 200 minor league games, and he was in AAA just because of all the injuries.
But back to they don't seem to have a guy that just zooms through the minor leagues like it's nothing. Yeah. And with a team that has as many early round picks as this team, one of these guys has to do that.
But also, don't you think that's kind of like a philosophy with the old regime for one, especially? I mean, it's
part of it.
Now with a new one, we kind of felt like maybe they're doing the opposite and putting guys through, and we're learning this year that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a philosophy. A lot of it has to do with, too, like they're not really competing. So, you look at a team like the Braves, right, this year. Let's just look at the Braves this year even. But even the Braves historically in the last decade or so. This year, they have two 21-year-olds starting right now. Because, one, those minor league, those 21-year-olds are pretty good. Neither of them played AAA. Neither of them played more than 50 games in AA, right? But they moved through the system very quickly, and then Atlanta needed major league help, so they just called up their best guy in the minors to provide that help, right? And you saw them do it. Listen, Vaughn Grissom, Michael Harris, right now, but in the past you saw it with Ozzie Albies, you saw it with Ronald Acuna Jr., right? So you've seen them do this in the past. And I think a reason for it is they kind of had to. Like, they didn't have the luxury of just being like, oh, well, we'll call up this AAA depth guy, just to plug a hole for a little bit. Like, they needed their most talented player. And so that's what they did. They found their most talented player, and they called up Ronald Acuna Jr. when he was 20 years old, and future Hall of Famer time, right?
Right.
Whereas with the Pirates, Ronald Acuna Jr. probably wouldn't have made the majors at 20. Like, there wouldn't have been a need.
Yeah. And I just point out too, like you said, that's I think an anomaly to a degree, because I mean, look, the same division. Look at the Mets right now. Like, they could have called up Alvarez and they traded for Michael Perez.
Yeah.
So But you're right. You're right.
I don't know why Francisco Alvarez isn't in the majors right now.
And he's tearing it up.
I just don't know if we'll ever see a 20-year-old. Well, I guess Rodolfo was 20 when he reached the majors, but we're not going to see a guy like that with the Pirates. It doesn't seem like.
But
Unless
you
someone
look like-
forces
like-
their hand.
I mean, even Peguero this year, like he had that cup of coffee, but 21 years old for Peguero.
Speaking
But again,
of which, we should touch on that new Baseball America top prospect
well,
list.
yeah, we can get to that. But like I think Peguero would have been somebody where, even if Peguero was tearing up Double-A this year, like I don't think the Pirates are calling Peguero up in June or July and just saying, "All right, shortstop position is yours," or second base is yours. Right? I don't think that's happening.
No.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Now, granted, there'll be some complications with him out of the 40-man. Who you bumping out? But realistically speaking,
he's on the 40-man.
He is.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Already out.
My bad. But like realistically thinking, like this is the organization that we've been fed how AAA is just it's not developing. Like if you're in AAA, you're ready for the majors. Like it's AA and then you're ready, which is what, as you mentioned, Atlanta's doing right now, clearly with their players. But that doesn't seem to be what they're practicing.
Yeah, it was
so,
a fun
like you said,
excuse
like,
for a year.
Peguero could have just dominated and be ready for the majors. And I feel like you're right. Like this, okay, well now it's next to the AAA. Let's go to Indy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a fun excuse they gave us for a year.
Right.
I think it was just their excuse because of the 40-man roster blunders that they've committed. First off, trading for every single Rule 5 eligible player in existence. And so you're left with this roster full of there's no depth. Like all of your depth are your prospects who are in AA. And so, they had to be called upon in certain situations when they probably wouldn't have normally. Like Jack Sawinski would not have been called up this year if he wasn't on the 40-man. Like he was called up because he was on the 40-man roster. If he wasn't on the 40-man, he's just hitting in AA. He's not getting called up. So I think they just got in a little bit of a mess. And then looking at, Ethan, I don't know if he's still listening. He was in the comments earlier, but Ethan posted the Rule 5 list for this year on Twitter the other day. There's like 100 names on it. I don't know what we're going to do. I have no idea what's going to happen this offseason.
There's got to be some trades.
I honestly don't know how they're going to fit people. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Throw a dart.
I'm trying to find Ethan's tweet. Here we go.
Just throw a dart at the names. Who cares?
Let me see if this works.
60 of them suck, so who cares?
Where are we at? So, can you see that?
Not really, but
yeah.
I'm blind.
So, like, you've got this list of people. So these are the people who were Rule 5 eligible last year, right? And then you're on the right-hand list here, you got all these people. I don't know what Ethan's color coding is. Ethan, if you can shed some light on your color coding. But, like,
it looks
Bay's
pretty.
going to have to get added, right? Burrows is going to have to get added. I could even see somebody like Carter Benz being added just for catching depth. Escado, you're probably leaving off. Flowers, maybe adding on. I don't know. Matt Frazier, though, is a guy who's somewhat intriguing. Matt Gorski's intriguing. Dario Lopez looks pretty legit. You're not putting Mojica on a 40-man. But, like, Endy needs added.
Nunez.
Triolo, maybe. Malcolm Nunez. These three right here are all, like, these three guys are probably all making the majors at some point. Like, are they great? I don't know. But, yeah, there's – and then they still have all these guys from last year, too. Like, do you add Bolton on? Do you add Omar Cruz? Do you add Mason Martin? I don't know.
No.
I don't know. So, yeah.
Goes back to what I've said. He's a hoarder of 40-man prospects.
It'd be different if they were good.
They're not. He just collects all of them.
Like Carter Benz, I don't know. It's like, I hope not, because
Right. But again, like this 40-man roster has 40 people on it. So you've got to, and no one's gone.
Leaving.
Like, it's not like we have free agents that are
Right.
leaving next year. Like, so they got to.
Well, Ben Gamble will be gone. There's one spot.
oh yeah, my bad. Ben Gamble's one.
Okay.
That's
One.
it.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Jake Marizik's already gone. Ben Gamble's gone.
So yeah, so you don't have a lot of space. Like you're gonna have to DFA people, and obviously there are a bunch of candidates for being DFA'd on this team, but
Throw a dart.
it'll be
The
interesting
thing
to
is
see
too,
what
like
they do.
you've got to make
Then-
some trades. Like you got to use some of this as capital to get better.
Right, like at what point are you going to get better? Because like they can right now. They have so much prospect depth right now, and I'm not talking about like great prospects, but they have so many people who would be top 20 prospects on major league teams. They've got probably a list of 60 guys, 50 guys, where depending on who you're trading them to, would be a top 20 prospect on those teams. They're so deep. Use some of that. Start actually getting better at the major league level. And then you don't have to add these guys to the 40-man. Make it be some other team's problem. Like I don't know when we're going to start doing that, because like how long do we need to be terrible? Like do we have to do this for another year? We're going to do this another year.
You can't. Like you physically can't because of the amount of players. Like, again, like the fact that there was no Rule 5 draft last year was the biggest gift for Ben Cherington. Because he could just continue. Like, I'm good. I'm safe. But that's not going to be the case this year. And like you're saying, it's multiplied. Like it's even bigger. So there's not enough players that are good enough to make this organization like a difference. But there's too many that are just still too good to just lose for nothing. Like we talked about last year. If you just lost Mason Martin, I think would be okay. Now, I wouldn't want to just lose him. There was still some intrigue, right? But if you ended up losing him because the team ended up actually drafting him at that point in time, I'd probably be okay with it. There's a lot of guys right now where you're not just losing willingly.
You know who you would have lost if there was a Rule 5 draft? Like guaranteed would have lost.
Cal.
Yeah.
He
No,
would've
well,
been
maybe.
gone.
Yeah, Cal
maybe,
Mitchell would have been gone, probably. But Yeri De Los Santos, too.
That too. Yeah.
Did who pitched like shit tonight?
Yeri De Los
Yeri De Los
Santos. But before
like,
tonight,
that's-
pretty good.
But that's a guy where, like, you actually have some intrigue with him. And, like, he wasn't being protected last year.
Right.
And he was good enough that he probably gets picked and gets stashed away in some team's bullpen.
I also do think there's you can trade enough of these guys that are like 30 to 40 ranked and build a decent bullpen. Donardo, I know you've talked about it in the chat today, what the Orioles have done. They could build a bullpen without having to protect anybody.
Yep. I agree. They could build a good one.
But they could build a dominant bullpen just by trading like 20 through 40.
Yeah.
Have fun.
And think about that. Like think about all the issues this year and how you want to proceed. And that's why I was looking at the Orioles. Jim making fun of me or whatever. Why you talked about the Orioles? Who cares? So good for them. Well, I mean, like look at
No,
them.
he did not say that. We were talking about football.
No, screw that. That's how I took it, and that's what it meant. But like my big thing is, so the Orioles were worse than the Pirates at this point in time last year, like record-wise, right? And like look at them right now; they're pretty good. Now, mind you, they have prospects that are much better playing currently, you know. So like I get that, but like, what did they do?
They got one.
Yeah,
They really
I mean,
only have one.
he's pretty freaking.
I mean, he's
legit.
very good.
He's
but,
legit.
Like they have only called up one guy.
Yeah, but like even talking about like the Hay, I mean some previous, I know they're older, but they had guys come through their system where like the Pirates are just hitting theirs outside of basically Brian Reynolds, who's like their Mullins, you know, Like they've had some guys come up where it's like now the Pirates are just starting to see the guys come up. But like it's their bullpen. Like their bullpen's really good. And when you look at it, they acquire this all so cheap. Like half of them are all waiver wire pickups, like for nothing. So it's just like if the Pirates could literally just maybe build a bullpen, have a competent enough, have just some major league pitchers, as Jim likes to say, right? Like they could be good enough next year. I'm not saying they have to be the Royals, the Orioles, and like in a playoff race, but it's not like they've done a whole lot to get good. It was just this bullpen.
And the Orioles are doing this in the AL East. Like the Pirates just have to get better in the NL Central.
And that's
with a
bunch
garbage
of league.
teams. Yeah.
If this team is like, just be around 500. That needs to be gold next year. And unfortunately, with the new baseball, well, I think it's fortunate. Jim doesn't. I like being in the playoff hunt at 500. Jim doesn't, but I think 500 needs to be a goal next year.
Because 2024 has to be that year.
If it's not, I'm retiring.
Saying, then what
I'm
is
out.
Brian Reynolds doing on this club still?
But and we were saying 2023 needed to be the year. This was the year we should have been trying to be 500, and instead they just kicked the can down the road.
We know.
The problem is that I don't want to get down the rabbit hole, but it could have. If they would have just tried a hair.
They very well could have. We know that.
I agree.
We recognize that.
Yep.
But anyways, so we want to talk about this Baseball America list for a little bit here.
I'm pulling it up. Right.
It's pretty controversial.
Was it?
I mean, based on my tweet, everyone's like at their necks for it. We're talking about how we hate prospect lists and they're pointless and they're garbage and Baseball America is dumb and they're lazy. They don't know baseball, all kinds of stuff. And of course, the Pirates organization is terrible. Yeah, there's the list. So number 1, Tamar Johnson, drafted, slides right in. Of course, we understand Roansy and O'Neill Cruz are graduated, even though Roansy's in AAA again. They're graduated, so no longer prospects for the people that are.
By the way,
questioning
about that, Jim was right.
Yes, because it's middle of August basically, and he's still there for the naysayers. But so, what do you think about Tamar Johnson sliding in number 1 overall right away?
So I am still really surprised. So I think the most surprising thing for me on this list is how low Henry Davis is. I'm still right now calling Henry Davis our number 1 prospect. I think Tamar Johnson probably slots in like right behind him. But I have no issues with somebody picking Tamar Johnson as our number 1 prospect. So, I mean, a lot of people had him as a top talent in this draft.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with Jim there. I'm okay with him being number 1. I do think Davis is probably the best prospect in this organization. Dropping him to 4 just kind of seems silly. I think on no planet, Peguero is a better major leaguer than him. Priest's been a darling for a while, so.
And he's been good.
I get it.
He's been really good.
He's been very good.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with him being up there. I think whatever order you want to put him in, Davis, Priester, and Johnson are 1, 2, 3. Peguero, I don't get it.
I think with Peguero, you can look at all the tools. He looks like he's going to be a major league shortstop. And that alone, like the fact that he's probably a major league shortstop, warrants a high ranking, going back to Davis, like I said, I'm if you're looking at this list of 10 people and you were going to Vegas and you were going to bet who's racking up the most career WAR, like I think I don't understand how you could pick anybody but Henry Davis, really. I think I think from like a floor standpoint, he's got the highest floor out of any of these guys on this list. And then just the fact that, he does have some power in that bat. He's a catcher. The guy can hit. So I would feel like that's a pretty safe pick. But I guess if you're going upside here, I could see the argument, for Termarr obviously being ahead of him. I don't know. I don't get this. I don't get Peguero being over Davis. That's something I don't get. But Priester, really like what I see out of him. Burrows, obviously, really like what I see out of him. Andy Rodriguez has done nothing but hit every step of the way. He plays a premium position. He can play multiple positions.
Plays multiple premium positions.
Yeah, like I really like Andy Rodriguez. I think just from he could just be an incredibly useful Major League Baseball player.
There is a lot of excitement about Andy Rodriguez. I will definitely say that. And man, I'm very, very intrigued. So let's maybe put it this way. Like we're talking about the best ones, whatever. Is he maybe the most exciting prospect in the Pirate system right now? I think that's where I look at him. Like Termarr Johnson, Henry Davis going back and forth about good and stuff. But I'm excited about Andy Rodriguez because maybe it's a little bit the underdog story. I mean, Henry Davis number 4 right now. That's the lowest he's been. You know what I mean? He's a top guy. Termarr Johnson's a top guy, and Andy Rodriguez has had that bit of intrigue. I mean, he was young. There was the lost season. He was part of the Musgrove trade. Yeah, there's some things you liked, and he's just jumped and jumped and jumped. And what you're seeing him do this year, I guess that's what I look at. I think he's the most exciting prospect in the system because of that.
I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of intrigue, definitely a lot of excitement. Yeah, I could see that. I think Termarr Johnson is going to get to a point where you look at him and you think, this guy's exciting. We just haven't had a chance to see him yet. I mean, he's played in 2 games, I think, maybe just one or 2 games. So we're just not there yet with him. And Peguero, again, looks good, looks steady. But as far as pure excitement, yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Andy Rodriguez, it's hard to not be excited about what you see so far out of him.
I think the big thing with Andy is he is kind of that guy we referred to earlier that has hit the whole way through so far. And he's just raked everywhere he's been.
There you go. That's a good I'm glad you brought that up. That he fits that mold right now.
I mean, he's in Double-A. He's got a ways to go. Like you said, he plays multiple premium positions. And the other part of him is, as someone brought up in the chat, he could save that Joe Musgrove trade.
Yeah. I mean, he could. If he turns out to be, I always kind of tease and compare him to Dalton Varsho. If he ends up being a Dalton Varsho type player, that's a very, very valuable piece on a team.
Yeah, and then just the Nick Gonzalez fall. That hurts.
It does. And so let's maybe do a little comparison. Now, there's certainly been within his numbers, right? There's been reasons to be down on Nick Gonzalez, but I think a lot also is compounded by just his health, right? If you can't stay on the field, how do you gain prospect status? And so with the Henry Davis slide, right? The thing with Davis is he has performed when he stayed on, but there's the injury. So is that maybe just what you're equating to Henry Davis falling down to number 4 is just because of the injury?
I think so with Davis. I think with Gonzalez, it's different, right? He's injured, but he also isn't doing the things that made him a top prospect to begin with, right? The reason why he was a top prospect and the reason why he was such a high pick is because he had a 70 hit tool and people thought he was a future batting champion, right? And I think you're seeing
Everything you're hearing about Tamar Johnson.
right, and I think Nick Gonzalez isn't doing anything to raise alarms for me to say, I don't think this guy's gonna make the majors. Like, I don't think this guy's gonna be a complete bust. Like, you look at his stats and they're still fine. Like, he's not terrible. He hasn't been terrible. And like last year at Greensboro, the way he ended his year last year at Greensboro was completely tearing up the league. Had a really good Arizona fall league this fall. And you look at the numbers in Altoona, and they're not eye popping. They're not blowing anything off the chart. But I was trying to pull him up here. But as far as like the strikeouts and the batting average are really what's probably most concerning, because a 32% strikeout rate, and he's hitting 247. Like, he's an above average hitter in Double-A. He's on a 109 weighted runs created plus. But we're talking about a guy who was drafted because of this, right?
Right.
That's why he was drafted, because we thought he was more like this and not like this. So he's doing things that are causing you to think this guy isn't who we thought he was. So that's the concern right now with Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to, it is a concern, but like, there's a lot of players that get drafted in the top 10 that just don't pan out.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick Gonzalez at this point kind of seems to be one of those guys that probably isn't what that floor we thought was going to be, seems to be. Honestly, he might not be a major leaguer based upon the strikeout rates we've seen.
The strikeout rates, need to be better.
Yeah, I mean, they're just bad. Like, he hit better last year in the second half, but the strikeout rates were almost identical. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and he's probably another year from being out of that top 10 Pirates prospect ranks if he has another year like this.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like I'm certainly on board with a lot of people. Like, the Henry Davis slide was surprising, to see him 4, especially behind Peguero. Quinn Priester, he's been trending upwards, right? Back upwards, I should say, from his complete ascension a few years ago. So he's regaining back some of that. So like, I could understand maybe, like, I guess the way you put it was Johnson, Priester, Davis, 1 through 3. You could switch them up however you'd be fine. And I'm cool with that. I can understand that because the injuries, right? The development. But yeah, like the Gonzalez one makes a lot of sense. It is kind of disappointing. Yes, there has been injuries, but like, his performance also shows that I'm not quite sure what he is.
The other one that I think Anthony brought up was Solometo. He is pitching really well. He's a guy that probably could zoom up these rankings very quickly.
So with you talking about him, let's maybe switch this over. So to the back end of the top 10, Jared Jones and Carmen Mlodzinski rounding out the top 10. Also a bit shocked on that.
Honestly, I feel like they're up there because they're just higher in the system.
Okay.
If we're basing upon
Safer.
like, yeah, if we are going the pipeline route where we're just going projection, which is all they do, they're not in my top 10 at all.
I think it's Thomas Harrington's somebody where, like, I just don't know enough about him yet. But as far as Jones, like, it's easy to get pretty excited about the stuff in the strikeout numbers. And I think you're looking at somebody who, at the worst is like a dominant back end reliever, right? Just because of the stuff. And I think you can make a similar case for Mlodzinski too. And the fact that he's higher up in the system makes him a little bit safer of a prospect. Mlodzinski's been that safe prospect really ever since he was drafted. I feel like even when he was drafted, one of the things people were saying was like, the guy's pretty polished. He's not that far from the majors. Is he going to be an impact player in the majors? Doesn't really look like it. but back end starter, worst case reliever, right? And those people tend to be ranked pretty high once you get to like a AA level, because it's like, all right, this guy's a major league pitcher, probably likely back end of a rotation. Those guys are like, there's only 150 starting pitchers in Major League Baseball, right? So, if you're on pace to be one of the best 150 pitchers in Major League Baseball, you're going to be at near the top of rankings.
No, I agree with you. Just it's something to look at for the fans that probably look at this and think these guys are rotation guys going forward. They're not, most likely. They're not pitching that well in AAA or AA. They'll probably be major leaguers, though.
Yeah. So on that note, let's talk
Fan-
about the entire thing.
Good
There's only
Lord.
one we left off.
Fangraphs has an
Fangraphs is not.
entirely different list.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So only two, if you're talking about starting pitchers, only two in the top 10 that really will be, and that's Priester and Burrows, which is a little concerning. We understand the pitching depth. So I guess, well, I'm not take it back. Harrington probably will as well. So my bad, 3. But yeah, so what do you think about Burrows, number 5? So he's finally getting some love here. Not top 100 as some were thinking, but I think it shows that he's on that cusp.
I mean, if you look at where he's at on this list,
Right.
in between Davis and Rodriguez and ahead of Gonzalez, that means he's really close to that top 100 level when it comes to Baseball America. And this is the highest we've seen him on any list, but this is also the most recently updated list. Yeah, I mean, I think, just looking at him, looking at his stuff, looking at the numbers in AA, looking at his age, you've got to put him this high. There's really no way around it. You have to.
I think you just look at the system and you have to put him that high. Like, you can't put Jared Jones ahead of him.
No.
There's on no planet can you. At the very least, Michael Burrows is going to be probably an effective reliever.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of sites are a little bit more positive about the changeup and the command lately. But I truthfully do think he can get by with fastball, curveball. He's not a top end guy, but I think he can get by with that.
I know you've had this debate.
I think he can
So
get by as
firmly in
a
that
starting. I think he can get by as a starting pitcher. But yeah, we're not looking at a number 1 or 2.
No.
If that's the case. Yeah.
I don't think anyone ever looked at him and thought that, but you never know.
Well, I mean, certainly from this list.
Right.
There are plenty of people on Twitter who think Michael Burrows is a future
Wow.
ace. So
That's a good, fair point.
Anybody with brains. But, I mean,
yeah,
to look at like a Thomas Harrington there, I think he's a guy that, like we talked about before, he's a guy that could probably fly through the minors. We haven't seen him yet, but the stuff's all there. He looks like a guy that has all the stuff already. He's another dude that's not a top end guy, but he looks like a major league caliber pitcher, just based upon the stuff we've seen. Well, I gamble.
yeah. I mean, I
on
was
college baseball.
surprised. I was surprised to see Harrington this high. Again, we haven't really seen him in the system, obviously, but I was not expecting anybody but Johnson to be in the top 10 from this year's draft.
Yeah. That's one of my biggest things too.
Because we look at like how
The
last year's draft, like, and then it's like, okay, well, last year the Pirates got how many of Baseball America's top 100 prospects? Like,
And that's
5
where
of
I'm
them?
at. That's what really confused me on
Yeah.
this. I know a lot of people were about the Henry Davis thing, but where is all of last year's draftees? As far, and it's not like any of them have like done anything to like hurt their stock, right? So like you're talking about Harrington, and where Harrington lined up in this year's draft, and he slides at number 8. It's like, so where is Salamento? Where is Bubba Chandler? Like, where are these dudes that got this entire draft excited last year? That holy hell, look what the Pirates did. And it's like, oh, there's Thomas Harrington. He slides in.
Yeah, and
There's
and
Jared
unless they're
Jones.
just-
There's Carter Majinski.
Yeah, like unless they're just going with, Harrington's a college arm, so he's closer, right? Whereas Solometo, obviously, like, love what I'm seeing out of Solometo right now, but he's an A-ball, right? Whereas Harrington, maybe a year closer to the majors than Solometo. Bubba Chandler obviously is doing really good things, but again, in A-ball. So yeah, I mean that's the only thing I can think of, because otherwise, those two guys in particular, Chandler and Solometo, have been pretty impressive in their time that they've played so far.
So it's kind of going back to the Tyler's point. It's the safety thing, right? Like Harrington's going to make it, probably not the ceiling, right? But he'll be there where these guys still younger, not ready to give him top 10 as of yet.
Right. Bubba Chandler could hit AA and just completely flame out, right? Whereas Harrington probably isn't going to do that.
Cool.
I'm with you.
So anything else stand out? Want to talk about with the top 10 list here, Baseball America? Do you want to reveal 11 to 30? Anything you want to talk about in there?
So here's last year. We reveal last year's, right? Solometo, Chandler, White. Back to back, 11, 12, 13. Lonnie White, we haven't seen yet. But everything that we've seen out of Solometo and Chandler they've been as advertised. I don't know what happened.
I don't either.
Hi, guys.
Good to see y'all.
But yeah, I mean, the rest of the list, I was, Holderman being in there, that makes sense. He looks good so far. I like the stuff.
I don't get Miguel Yajuri up there.
I'm still lost on that.
So going into the year, I would have put Yajuri right around like that 10 spot. But yeah, right now, like before I was like, this guy's floor is a major league pitcher. Now I don't think that anymore. I don't think he's a major leaguer.
No.
It's
I liked him a lot.
Nothing's good.
The curveball was good, and now everything's just bad.
And he's not young either anymore. Like, so he's 24 years old.
Yeah.
I know there's all limited stats, like just numbers, right? But in AAA this year, 39 innings. He's got a 6.81 ERA.
Yeah, he's
Doesn't
beyond. He is
walks
beyond
away.
Bryce Wilson status.
I just look at this and I'm like, there's other guys. Like, how do you take all the other stuff out, guys? How do you have your Hurry 18 and Bay at 23?
No, you're right.
Like,
I don't know.
I mean, Bay
with
needs to be higher. I think he gets punished because of his past. But like if you're looking at a prospect list, I mean, Bay, I would put Bay like 9.
Yeah, Bay's
if you're thinking like,
if he didn't get top 10, I'd be okay with that. But I'm kind of shocked at 23. And then again, we're looking like, so if he's 23 and I'm looking at those guys ahead of him, like Malcolm Nunez.
Bay is the guy that I think I could look at, and he's probably an everyday second baseman for pretty much any team. He's gonna hit.
Yeah, like I think G1 Bay is a major leaguer. Like just from the speed in the hit tool, I find it hard for him to not. Like I think he's Kevin Newman at his worst.
Yeah,
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah,
and like Kevin Newman, if Kevin Newman were on this list, he'd be higher than 23rd.
He's a Kevin Newman that can play center field.
Yeah. Yes. And what I was gonna say is like the thing that's really helping out is like this kind of like newfound power he's gotten. It's not like he's hitting like 30 home runs, but he's not just. This is a bad comp, so what I want to get to. He's not I don't know. Anyway, he's not just like a slap hitter, more or less, right?
No.
Like he actually can hit.
And
He's hit at every level.
Yes.
one guy who's not on this list too that I don't understand how you can put some of these names ahead of him is Dario Lopez. So I don't understand how you can put Hudson Head, Connor Scott, Matt Frazier, even Matt Gorski. I don't know how you can put these guys ahead of Dario Lopez.
So I tweeted the Pirates need desperately some of these non-prospects to succeed at the major league level.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a guy that, like a him, they need more. I don't want to say Matt Frazier because we've seen him kind of fall off, but they need guys like that to be able to take that next step as an organization.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now they are so reliant on that top crop.
Yeah. And I think there's like something to some of these guys. Like I'm a little down on Frazier really ever since his promotion double A, but
Yeah.
like I'm still not completely like I still think there's something in Travis Swaggerty's tank. Like I think there's something there. Matt Gorski, I think, has something in him too. Connor Scott, Hudson Head, I'm not high on either of those guys. Gutierrez looks semi-competent and interesting from a catching standpoint. Like I said, Malcolm Nunez, we've talked about him a lot lately because of the trade. Maybe a future DH possibility, but you're still looking at probably like a platoon guy. So but like if I'm looking at this list, like I think Bay can be a major league regular. I think Swaggerty again has something. I think Gorski's got something. Dario Lopez not being on this list, I think is kind of stupid because I really like what I see out of him. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
So what I was like, just looking at the Dodgers, a Max Muncy, a Turner, like they need one of these guys that they have picked up, or even just that are hanging around the minor leagues, to become a very good major leaguer. Because you see them all over the place.
Yeah.
Like hell, even a Jose Ramirez, not really a prospect.
So
They desperately need someone like that.
Like Brian Reynolds was kind of in that same mold,
He
but
was,
was
yeah.
he though? Like what I'm gonna
No,
get
I
at
think he
is
was.
I think he was still like a top. He was still like number 5 in the
Yeah.
on the team organization. Like he was the Giants' number 5 prospect at the time. Like I don't look at him and say he's a non-prospect. Like I think what we're getting at is too like the Cardinals always have a guy that's like, who is this person? And he performs. We talk about Pirates prospects who like it seems like they all struggle, but like when's also the last time like a true real like non-prospect has come up and has been something, like been relevant, productive for the team? Like you get that guy's come
Josh
out of
Harrison.
nowhere. What's that?
Josh Harrison.
Harrison's a good one. Okay. I was going to say like even
I think you've seen it from the pitching.
Adam Frazier, like
position.
a little bit, like he was like number
Frazier, yeah.
22, but like you don't, I guess what Tyler's getting at is there's a lot of depth, and that's why it's so important. I feel like there's just no real, true, good top end talent for the Pirates. There's a lot of question marks.
Yep. One of these guys has to take that leap.
There's a lot of depth, and this organization needs that. Like they have to have someone that we're not talking about today make that next step and become something in a few years.
No, you're right. And I mean, maybe we talk about Jack Sawinski kind of coming out of nowhere.
That's
really
also a good one.
But like a guy like that, like they need more people who are going to surprise you, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Are we done?
I think
God,
we
I
are.
hope
It
so.
was a good show. So tomorrow the Giants and Pirates play at 13 p.m. 13 a.m. whatever. They play late as hell. Tyler will not be doing a post game.
Nope.
I think the post game, like the earliest it would be, is what, 1:30, basically, if we're looking at it.
Yeah, it's a 10-15 game. What are
Yeah.
they doing
Yeah.
adding these extra? The Diamondbacks have it right, at least, and that they were starting at what, like 9:40.
Yeah.
That should be a rule. Anytime if you're a West Coast team and you're hosting a team from the Eastern time zone, you got to start your game at 6:40 local time.
I'll just throw it out there. If anybody watching, all like 5 of you, wants a pregame show instead, because none of you are going to stay up, I will gladly do that. If not, and you ignore this, I will be in bed.
You know what? Tease it out there. Let's find out, because we've been kind of toying with this. So for the late night games, right, when they're on the West Coast, would you guys rather have like a pregame show for those so we can talk about the game coming up and it's not 1 o'clock in the morning, or just keep it as is? So that's good feedback. Let us know either here or on Twitter or wherever.
Or do you want to do an NS9 game day?
What's that?
Tyler can't.
And
stay
what's
awake for
that? We're live streaming the game, kind of
Oh,
like we did last year. Can we get Oscar Marin as a guest? Might as well. I don't know. He might be sleeping too.
I mean, I'll have the camera while I'm laying in bed. Like,
Yeah, Tyler will be out. So I think it's either for those type of games, it's either a post game or pre-game.
I shall be snoozing.
So yeah, let us know on that. If we can do it, we can start tomorrow. If you guys want a pre-game show, I guess we'll go live
Just
at
for the West Coast.
I do have like an 8 a.m. tea time on Saturday.
So
I'm not going to want to be doing a post game show at 1:30 in the morning.
I don't care what you want to do. That's what you're
Well,
gonna do.
that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do a 1:30 post game show.
Okay. Well, then we might do. Well, maybe we'll try it out tomorrow and see how people take it. So I guess if you're listening either on the podcast or watching us right now, there's a good chance we'll do a pre-game show tomorrow. So stay tuned. Tell us how you like that, and we'll go from there. So sounds good, everyone. Thank you, Bucko Mike. All right, let's get out of here then. Really appreciate you all watching. As always, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.
See you guys.